What's going on, guys? Super Insane 18 here, and it has been quite a while, but I am back and I am bringing you the first of our 3-part Fire King video. This is going to be for a Sinful Spoils deck profile. Video number 2 is going to be for the Tri-Brigade version of the deck, and then video number 3 is going to be a combo tutorial that encompasses both versions, showing combos from each one. So if you guys want to see that, make sure to smash the like button down below, but let's go ahead and get on into the profile. Starting off the deck profile, it is going to be relatively basic. I am far from the first person to make a Fire King deck profile video, but after playtesting it and seeing what I liked, this is what I ended up on. So we are going to start off with 3 copies of the legendary Fire King Ponix. Obviously, this is the heart and soul of the deck, the 1-card combo that really just gets you into a lot of things, and because it is a level 1 fire, that is where the synergy with the Sinful Spoil cards comes out, so we will talk about that a little bit later when we get there. We have our 2 copies of Sacred Fire King Garunix. Now, this is something that a lot of people are kind of on the fence on, whether you play 2 or 3. In testing, I never felt like I needed the 3rd one. It is incredibly searchable, so you really don't need it, but we do have our 3 copies of Fire King High Avatar Kirin. This is an incredible card, being able to summon back a Fire King monster from your graveyard when it is destroyed, so you are able to destroy it directly from the deck using the Garunix, so then we can just go ahead and reborn out whatever we want. We have our 3 copies of Fire King Avatar Arvada. This is very similar to a card like Kawaki Meru Guardian. I believe I actually got that from Tombox at MST TV, but he is absolutely correct. You are able to normal summon this, and then it just acts as a monster negate, protecting you from hand traps that your opponent might have, and the synergy is that it will destroy another fire card from your field or hand, meaning that depending on what you have to destroy in order to negate that monster effect, not only are you actually negating the effect that your opponent is trying to use, but you're also able to get the destruction effect of whatever it is you're destroying, which can just progress your board state as well. We have our 1 copy of the Fire King Avatar Rangbali. This is a kind of counterpart to the Arvada, but it does negate spell and traps, so you really only need one of it because it's not all of that important, but it can also special summon itself, so you are able to have both on the field if you have a good enough hand. We have our 1 copy of the Barong, and it's just not really that good anymore. I know that this was really good in original Fire Kings, but that's a little bit before my competitive time, so this just seems to be the agreed upon ratio, and while testing, I never felt like I needed more of it. But that is it for the Fire King cards. We now have, of course, our 1 copy of Diabellstar the Black Witch. That is for the Sinful Spoils engine. It will be able to set the original Sinful Spoils, which is going to allow you to summon a level 1 fire from the deck, which you guessed it is, of course, Ponix. Now that's it for the actual monsters. We just have some hand traps finishing up the lineup. We have our 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird is an incredible card this format. Literally every single deck is going to be performing multiple searches, so by having this in your main deck, you are able to stop a lot of the top meta threats at the moment. And of course, we have our copy of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Not only is it just the most generic hand trap, but it adds a little bit of synergy being a fire monster as well. You are able to destroy it if you don't need it, which can then get you to be able to summon your Garunix, or you can also just add it back from your graveyard using a card like Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf, which of course we have in our extra deck. Moving on to the spells, we have our 3 copies of the Fire King Sanctuary. This is going to be what you are searching off of your Ponix 9 times out of 10, because it will be able to get you our next card, which is the Fire King Island. We are only on 2 Fire King Island because of how searchable it is, and I don't really feel like we ever need more than it, but this is one of the heart and soul pieces of the deck, being able to not only destroy cards, but search cards as well, so you can get destruction effects as well as searching something like your Garunix, which then, because Garunix, the way that it's worded, it will be able to summon itself because it technically sees the destruction of the card, so we are able to summon that out after searching it, and it just really lets you kind of build a big unbreakable board. We have our 1 copy of Circle of the Fire Kings just for utility, and then our 1 copy of the Fire King Skyburn, again just a utility piece. You don't really need more than that. They are very searchable, and yeah, not really much left to be said there. We have our 3 copies of Wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoils. This is, of course, for the Diabellstar engine. This is what's going to allow you to search your Diabellstar, so you don't need to run more than 1 copy of it. But not just that, it also gives you some much-needed draw power as well. And the 1 copy of the original Sinful Spoils. This is what is, of course, going to be able to summon the Ponix from your deck and get the ball rolling. We have 2 copies of Fire Formation Tenki. Now, this is okay at best, which is why we're not running 3. The other reason we're not running 3 is because of how prevalent Droll and Lockbird is this format. You don't want to activate this and just get completely ruined by a Droll, but it is really good for searching out your Arvada and being able to have a monster negate just right off the bat. But not just that, you can then use it to summon out your Diabellstar because you have to send a face-up card or one from your hand, but you can just use this and then it's pretty much just free, so I think it's really good. These next 3 are going to be flex spots. We have our 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. I think that being able to just turn off somebody's end board or preventing them from creating that end board to begin with is really, really strong, and a lot of this deck is based around 1 or 2 card combos, meaning that you will definitely have the ability to have extra things to send off the Droplet. Again, we can look at something like Tenki. You can send the Tenki, and that's just a free negate, and you can replace this with anything that you see fit, but I felt like this was a really strong option when I was testing. And then we have our 1 Called by the Grave. I had 1 slot left in the deck, and this is just a really good card. Again, with how many hand traps are currently seeing play, I think that this is just a really strong option. Not to mention, in the mirror match, you can actually use it to hit things that your opponent's trying to activate in the grave, like a Kirin or anything like that. We also have our 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. We want to be able to have effect negates, but we want those effect negates to not necessarily be in the form of a monster, because some people are still playing cards like Talents and Thrust, so Impermanence is the better effect veiler in that scenario. That leaves the main deck at 40 cards. Let's show you guys the extra. Now, the extra deck is going to look pretty generic for the Sinful Spoils build. You guys will see a very, very different extra deck when we show you the Tri-Brigade variant, but let's show you guys what we have. We have our 2 copies of the new Garunix XYZ. This card is absolutely crazy, being a Raigeki on summon, as well as a built-in back row removal, and not just that, but if it's destroyed with material, you get to summon back monsters equal to the materials it had when it's destroyed. So it's just kind of a really intense card, not to mention the fact that you are able to summon it on your opponent's turn, meaning that you can just board wipe them for free on their turn. You never really need 3, games don't typically last that long, so 2 feels like the perfect ratio. Since we are playing a rank 8 deck, we also have our copy of Dingirsu, the Orchest of Evening Star. This is really good for non-targeted removal. If your opponent has something that's not able to be targeted or destroyed, this just non-target sends it to the graveyard, so really, really strong. And then it can also protect things from being destroyed as well. Not that you necessarily want to do that, because you always have your destruction effects, but the option is there if you have something that you don't want your opponent to get rid of. We have our 1 copy of Ty-Phon and our 1 copy of Zeus. These are just pretty standard. Ty-Phon's in every deck right now. You guys know that I personally don't see a massive use case for it, but I have actually found myself making it more often than I thought I would, and Zeus is Zeus because we're playing Xyz monsters. Onto our Link 1s, we have our 1 copy of Linkuriboh and our 1 copy of Almirage. These are just part of the various combos that we have for the deck because of Ponix. Ponix is not only a level 1, but it is a normal summonable monster with less than 1000 attack, so these just kind of allow us to get where we want to go. We have our 1 copy of Hida. We are playing a fire deck, so obviously we are going to be playing Hida. Every deck is playing fire in some aspect. Some of the best decks right now, such as Infernoble and Rescue Ace, are not only fire, but every other deck is likely going to be running Ash Blossom, meaning that you will be able to use this to just link climb, and yeah, that's really all there needs to be said. We have our 1 copy of IP and our 1 copy of SP. These are just incredible cards. Obviously, IP is able to then go into SP on our opponent's turn, getting the SP's ability to banish a card, and then SP will be able to banish more cards when your opponent attempts to play. So really, really strong card. A lot of people are saying that this is just the best card in the game right now. We have our 1 copy of the Sunlight Wolf. Not only is this mandatory for some of the combos, but it's also just really good recursion. If you are in sort of like a grind game or a more simplified game state, you can use this and add back like an Ash Blossom from your graveyard, like I mentioned earlier, and being able to add back that Ash Blossom might just be that nail in the coffin that prevents your opponent from winning the game. Onto our Link 3s, we have the Decode Talker Heat Soul, which we are able to use as sort of a small draw engine and just gain some advantage. We have our copy of Selene. This is going to be paired with something like the Hida. If you guys didn't know, the Diabellstar is a spellcaster, so you'll be able to use this to reborn the Diabellstar, and that will be able to allow you to climb into something like an Access Code Talker, and now you'll be able to use the Access Code Talker probably 3 times, because you have a Dark in Linkuriboh, a Fire in Hida, and a Light in the Selene, so that's 3 pops with a 5300 attack beater. The Garunix is also going to gain attack, so it'll always be over 3k. So assuming you're going into an open board, that is of course game. And the final card is going to be the Raging Phoenix. This is just another OTK piece, being able to summon back and gain attack. It's able to push for that little bit of extra damage that you might not have had otherwise. And there you guys have it. That is going to be my Sinful Spoils Fire King deck profile. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you're excited for what is to come. Again, we are going to be making 2 more videos on Fire Kings. One is going to be the Tri-Brigade version of the deck, and the other is going to be a massive combo tutorial encompassing both the Sinful Spoils and the Tri-Brigade versions of the deck, so make sure you are subscribed with notifications on for that. You guys know the deal. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, share with your friends. Don't forget to check out the channel sponsor Dueling Guard. Using code INSANE18, you can get 5% off your entire order. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.